Despite the fact that he led his high school to 4 straight state championship game appearances, very few high major recruiters looked at the 6-foot-tall, 180-pounder and said, quarterback.
Throw it on a dime, like I ain't even trying. Just a kid from Briarwoods, I'm wearing number 9. Met Coach Franklin down at Vandy, flipped to Happy Valley.
Welcome back to another episode of Podward State. I'm one of your hosts, Grace Cunningham. Joined with me is Sam Brungo. Sam, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm pretty good.
It's good to see you.
Good to see you. I haven't seen you in so long.
I know, since last week.
Yeah.
I don't think I saw you this weekend.
Yeah, no, I don't think I did either.
You wore overalls, though, I saw on Instagram.
I did wear overalls.
It's awesome.
Yeah, I hope the Lion wears his overalls this weekend. I think he will.
Are you doing overalls again?
Am I going to be wearing overalls again? Probably not, but I want him to be wearing overalls.
I have my outfit picked out. I'm really excited.
Is it overalls?
About it. No.
No. But you know what I'm talking about
when he
wears his stripe?
overalls.
Yeah, I like when he wears clothes.
He's the
I liked
sweetest.
he was Ferris Bueller this weekend. I liked when he was Ferris Bueller.
I was wondering what that
It's
was.
Ferris Bueller.
Yeah.
Because they played the song Twist and Shout.
Oh.
Yeah. I really liked that. That was fun.
Oh. Anyways, start off our episode. We have Shannon sitting in for a little bit for me.
Exciting.
My voice is a little tough. I had my first student game at this weekend at Penn State, and then I saw Steelers on Sunday, so my voice is a little weak. So Shannon step in, do some headlines with in studio. We have contributor Shannon Smith. We got contributor Connor Kraus. We have editor Hailey Stutzman. We got contributor Charlie Pegler. We got sound technician. What do you call it? Sound wizard, sound technician Jordan Mansberger. We have associate producer Will Pegler. Me and Grace.
Exciting.
Full house, yeah. After we do our headlines, we have kind of a Penn State legend, but actually one of the most legendary Penn State people, I think. Like Penn State football wise, one of the most legendary people we've had on the pod. I think.
Yeah, he was really cool.
Yeah, really cool. Really big story that I grew up hearing. I'm sure Will and Charlie grew up hearing that story as well as Penn State fans, but it was really cool to finally get to talk to him. I've been wanting to talk to him for a while. So, awesome conversation with Adam Taliaferro. I don't think I said his name, did I?
Maybe. You might have said his last name.
Well, Adam Taliaferro joined us. After that, Connor and Will joined me again to talk about football. Yeah, it was cool.
Fun.
Yeah, good episode.
Yeah.
So we're going to get in the headlines here with Shannon. All right, to start us out here with some headlines before we get into our conversation with Adam Taliaferro, we have contributor Shannon Smith. Shannon, how are you?
I'm good.
You weren't here last. Oh, you left early last week, but we congratulated you on making the lacrosse team.
You know who told me that you guys did that?
Woo!
My brother. My brother.
Let's
Shout out Ryan.
Hey! Woo! Congratulations on that.
Thank
Shout
you.
out again to Ryan. We had my family watched caught up on their episodes last week, and they were like, wow, a lot of shout outs in the last episode. So that's kind of fun. People like to hear their name. So shout out to Ryan. Followed us all on the socials.
Yeah.
You're good. All right, Shannon, let's get us started. Tell us about lawsuits. I remember this one.
So the lawsuit was settled between Penn State and the man injured during the police response to the 2018 tailgate. Penn State will be paying $25,000 to a New York man who says that he has long-lasting injuries due to the police response to the 2018 tailgate to settle the lawsuit. The man, William Deegan, was struck in the head by a Penn State police horse and then squeezed against a car.
God.
The game was September 29, 2018 against Ohio State. The state police and the university had low-flying helicopters and mounted units breaking up a large, unruly crowd. The helicopters sent tents, grills, and other debris flying through the air. The man says that he had suffered 6 broken ribs and later developed headaches and cognitive problems and had to receive treatment from a neurologist as well as cognitive therapy.
That wasn't even the shittiest part of the day because Penn State got lost. They lost that game. So poor guy.
That guy got warped.
He got warped. What a massive...
Those videos were like crazy too that they had.
I remember this so vividly, like hearing about it that day. What a massive mistake that Penn State, like, why did they do that with the helicopters?
Wait, where was it like supposed to land?
It wasn't supposed to land.
The helicopters were to break up.
Like, break everyone, the group
There was
up.
like, it was
But
like a
everyone's
frat,
tense.
maybe not frat, but it was like an org tailgate. And it was like a massive tailgate. And they went to break it up because they hate fun. Penn State hates fun.
Helicopter was?
A helicopter.
Low
They brought a
flying.
helicopter
Like,
like
think about at the beach, like
What,
when
and it
umbrellas
just,
start
to,
flying
Like,
along.
yeah, but to like
think
like,
about
to actually to make stuff fly around. Like that's.
I think it was just to scare them to like disperse.
That's
yeah,
really weird.
it's crazy move by them. Well, $25K that's like less than tuition in state.
Yeah, I didn't think that was enough.
I don't either. I don't know what the injuries were exactly, but
I mean,
that's less than tuition in state.
and
So,
he had a son who was a senior.
it was like a
It's a
man.
Penn State dad.
Oh,
Yeah, imagine
that's sad.
senior year and that's what happens to
Damn.
your dad. Penn State
Yeah,
horse
that's
hits
so
him in the
sad.
head.
shout out to Jeff Rushton for writing that.
Penn State hoops coaches versus cancer 5K set for October 3rd. So this Sunday at 9 a.m. there's going to be a 5K race at the Penn State golf courses with the Penn State chapter of Coaches vs. Cancer. The race costs $25. Pre-registration is available online currently, and then registration starts an hour before the race. And the race is being held by the American Cancer Society and the Association of Basketball Coaches to raise money for cancer research and treatments.
Sounds
All right.
nice.
Yeah, sounds nice to me. Shout out Coaches versus Cancer. Last week, Pat Chambers came on. He $1.3 million raised in his time. Coaches versus Cancer, still going on even post Pat. So shout out to Coaches versus Cancer. Really cool thing. Still Blood Cancer Awareness Month. Donate some blood this month.
But it won't be when this comes out.
It won't be when it comes out, but still
still.
donate blood. Thoughts?
Yeah, it sounds nice.
Yeah,
What
it's
did
an
you
awesome
say?
thing. Did you say pre-registration available online? Yep, sign up for that. Let's go run. Anyone want to run? Me, Charlie, Pegs, we're running. Grace?
Sure.
Grace
I'll
is
run.
running. Shannon's running. Stutz? Stutz is running.
Before the meeting.
Jay Manny running.
I'll go.
Kraus is taking a leak, but he's gonna run with us, dude. We got to get shirts, pod shirts, not for the run, but we should get pod, like maybe hoodies.
This is Charlie. If you guys are listeners, you probably know.
Hey guys.
Hi, Charlie. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Pretty good.
Thank you. So here's some sad news coming from the NFL. KJ Hamler is going to be out for the remainder of the season with the Broncos due to a torn ACL. So the former Penn State wide receiver tore his ACL in his game with the Denver Broncos against the New York Jets. Hamler ended his 2021 season with 5 catches for 74 yards. So, you hate to see it.
Sad.
He's having
Let's
a
stay
solid
positive,
year.
Yeah,
though.
positive. That's
Saquon
true.
did the same thing, and he's back.
Saquon's back. The Giants aren't, though. But it's
All
all
right.
right.
We're not talking about the Giants. We're talking about Saquon.
Yeah, not good, but
Positive vibes.
Very
What's going on with the turf? What's going on with the turf in Denver?
embrace
Deshaun
debate.
Hamilton tore his ACL too. What's up with
I don't know
that?
about that.
Penn Staters and the Denver turf?
I don't know. I that's bullshit.
Sounds to me like KJ's got some time if he wants to come on the pod.
Come on the pod, KJ.
That's true.
Once a friend, always a friend.
Next, we have Sound Wizard for the podcast,
Thank you,
who
Grace, for
should
that title. by
stay
the way.
unnamed. He's going to tell us about the flu shot clinics coming up.
I will. When I find. Okay. So, UHS is hosting 2 flu shot clinics in the hub. On September 30th, a clinic will be held in Heritage Hall. And on October 25th, a clinic will be held in Alumni Hall. The clinics will be held from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m., and students should schedule appointments through MyUHS, as walk-ins won't be available. Students just need their Penn State ID with them to enter the clinic. If your health insurance is not uploaded to the MyUHS account, or the student does not have health insurance, $25 will be billed to the student's bursar account.
I think they're actually full. Will, are they actually full? Did you check? So disregard that because that doesn't
Wait,
exist.
when I wrote this morning,
the flu
they
shots, all
were not
the.
full yet.
Oh,
Yeah. No,
they
no,
just
no.
hate
Well,
you.
I think you can still get a flu shot through them because I think you can get it on different days, but these were just when their clinics were happening. But I think, I'm pretty sure you could still get a flu shot through UHS.
If not, there is other ways to get flu shots in State College. You can go to CVS And I'm sure there's also other ways. Get a flu shot. The PS flu or whatever the hell it's called is going around. Make sure you're getting the flu shot and also the COVID vaccine if you don't have it already.
I got my flu shot at CVS yesterday. There
Really?
was a 99. My hands are really sweaty. There's a 99-year-old woman there getting her third COVID vaccine.
She,
Oh, wow.
Her name was Mary.
Wait,
Wait,
like the
she a
booster?
State College resident?
Probably.
When
We
she
should
hits
get, like, the
100, can we
booster.
have her on the pod? Next, we have Hailey Stutzman, contributor, who's going to talk about the One Big Week fundraiser.
Hey guys, so the One Big Week event took place between September 12th through the 18th and raised money to benefit student emergency funds and was held by all schools across the Big Ten.
None of us
Penn
here
State alone
know
raised
about Pegler.
$214,000, which was more than a third of the total, which was $600,000. Penn Staters are also responsible for more than half of the campaign's 5,800 total gifts. The donated funds will help students with financial needs with covering expenses.
Go Penn State, we are.
Amen.
We,
Yay.
Thon, Alumni Association, I just think we're the best. I know it's like a little
Probably.
biased coming from Penn State, but
I mean,
Penn State to the moon.
All right, today's guest is a former Penn State football defensive back who got paralyzed while making a tackle in 2000 after undergoing spinal surgery, was given less than 5% chance of walking again. A few months later, he walked out of his Rehabilitation Hospital, inspired millions of people, and 21 years later continues to inspire the Penn State community to overcome adversity. Joining us now, Adam Taliaferro. Adam, how are you?
Man, I appreciate you guys having me. How's everything on the your end?
It's good. I'm doing good. You guys good?
pretty good.
Doing great.
Yeah, it's fun to have you on. This has been, we had every episode to start out, we do like Penn State headlines from the week. And a couple weeks ago, we were talking about how you were coming back for the whiteout and were the honorary captain. We'll touch on that later. So we were saying on that episode, we were like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if we could get him on? And a couple weeks later, here you are.
No, man, okay, appreciate you guys having me. It's always good to talk Penn State, man. Always love it.
Love it. All right, so we're going to start out. We're going to talk a little bit just from the beginning, where your relationship with Penn State started, your recruiting process, what it was like being recruited by legendary coach Joe Paterno.
Yeah, man, it started, it's crazy. It makes me feel old thinking about it, man. It was my sophomore year in high school, and the coaches started coming down to my games. I had never been to Penn State. Like, I remember growing up, like my dad went to Temple, so he's always a Temple fan. And, Penn State would always be on TVs, and I just never been out there. So after my sophomore year, they're like, hey, why don't you come up to Penn State for football camp? And I was like, all right, I'll go out there. And I remember driving out there. I live in South Jersey, driving out, and you're like driving through like cow pastures and like mountains. And I'm like, where the hell are we going, man? Then I get out the car, and I smell cow. I'm like, man, there's no way I'm spending like 4 years here. And went to camp, met Coach Paterno. He's like, hey, we got an eye on you. After your junior year, we'd love for you to come back the next year. So I came back up there the next year. And I told my dad, I was like, man, I'm not going to, I'll come up to Penn State one more time, and this is it. I'm not going to Penn State, but I'll go to camp there one last time. So I went there, and at the end of camp, Coach Paterno brought me into his office. He's like, hey, you've been up here 2 years. We want to offer you a scholarship. And I was like, all right, Coach, yeah, I'm in. And my dad came back. He's like, hey, how'd camp go? I was like, Dad, I committed to Penn State. He was like, you did what? I was like, I didn't know what to tell Coach. Like, he was sitting across the table from me. He asked me to come. I'm not going to tell Coach Paterno no. So I was locked in after my junior year, man. And it was, I tell people all the time, it was one of the best decisions I ever made. But that's how it all came to be, man. So after my junior year, my whole senior year, I, played it out, and I started taking official visits to other places, and Coach Paterno, this is before like social media and everything, so I didn't think Coach Paterno was going to find out. So I was like down in Tennessee. He called me while I was down at the University of Tennessee. Like, man, you take another visit, you're not coming to Penn State. So I stopped going on visits, and day after I graduated from high school, went up to Penn State to get it started.
So kind of sticking with the Joe Pa thing here. I grew up a Penn State fan. I remember it always being kind of a big deal. Joe kind of didn't play true freshman that often. Obviously, you saw the field right away. Do you remember that being like a big deal with your teammates or fans? Like, wow, there's a true freshman playing like right off the bat. Like, was that a big storyline or no?
Yeah, coming in, like when they recruited me, they're like, hey, we were a little thin at defensive back. So if you come, you're going to have a chance to play. You know, we can't guarantee you anything, but you'll have an opportunity. So when summer camp started, that was like the big thing, like which freshmen were going to get a chance to play. So it was me. I don't know if you remember Cam Wake. He was Derek Wake when he was at Penn State, but Cam Wake, we were the 2 freshmen on defense. And then like my roommate Tony Johnson was playing. So we had like 3 or 4. We had a big freshman class. It was like 29 of us in our recruiting class. And I think like 4 or 5 of us started the season, you know, getting some time. And I was playing primarily special teams, and then, you know, they would put me in a nickel and dime situations. But for me, I always say as a freshman, you're just excited to be out there. Like half the time, I remember coming out the tunnel just like looking around like, man, this is crazy. Like, you know, you're playing in front of 5,000 people in high school, and now you're playing in front of 100,000. It was like, it's hard to put into words, man. It's like the coolest experience. And looking back on it, it's just something, you know, even I played in 5 games, man, that's it. But I cherished every moment of it.
So September 23rd, 2000, the anniversary just passed. Can you take us through your injury?
Yeah, you know, we were going out to Ohio State, and we were having a tough year that year. We were like 1-3, and we were like, man, you know, we go out to Ohio State, we can get the season back on track if we can go out there, beat them. And I had broken my thumb in the preseason. That was my first game. I got my cast off, and like Tom Bradley, who was a defensive coordinator back then, was like, hey, be ready because you're going to be getting in more. And I remember the game day, it was like raining, so it was storming. They had to delay the game. But common theme, you know, Ohio State was getting after us a little bit that game. We were losing, but I was out there, and I just remember I was playing corner. I just tried to make a tackle, and I went low, and I made a mistake. I had my head down, and it just pushed my head down and woke. I remember waking up on the ground, and I tried to roll over to get up, and just felt like nothing was there. And I thought I had a stinger. Like, you know, I never had a stinger before where you lose sensation. But the thought of being paralyzed never went through my head. I just thought, crap, you know, I'm going to be out for the game, and then I'll be flying back with the team. But when they took me off, when they were wheeling me off the field in the stretcher, you know, like when you see someone get hurt, they give the thumbs up, like, hey, I'm good. I tried to give the thumbs up, and when I couldn't do it, I was like, oh man, this is not good. And I could see like in Coach Paterno's eyes and our trainers, like something wasn't right. So I started to panic a little bit. And when they took me to the hospital, I don't remember much about it. It's still like foggy to me, but when they took the CAT scans and x-rays, they saw I had bruised my spinal cord. And ironically, my parents, I started playing football when I was 7. My parents have been at every one of my games, like literally every game, never missed a game. And even when I was at Penn State, but this was the first game they watched on TV. So, you know, my parents watched it. My dad flew out that night, and that's when they told him, like, you know, he had this injury and he's probably not going to walk again. And it just, for me, after that, it just gets real foggy and hazy. I don't remember much. I just remember waking up back in Philadelphia because I had my surgery out in Ohio. I got hurt that Saturday, had my surgery on Monday, and I was there for 4 or 5 days. Then they flew me back to Philly where I was in intensive care. I was there for 3 weeks. Then I started my rehab journey at McGee where I was at for 8 months. It's crazy.
So do you remember when they told you that there was a 5%? Is that what it was, 5%? Do you remember when they told you that you probably wouldn't walk again?
I'll say, you know, the ironic part about it was they told my parents. So, you know, they brought my parents into a room. They said, you know, he's not going to walk again. And my dad was like, well, you know, give me a percentage. Like, just tell me, like, what do you guys think it may be? And they're like, well, you're like 3 to 5%. That's the best we can give you. And my dad made the decision, and my mom both, to not share that information with me. So I never knew how bleak the prognosis was. So my dad was like, you know, if he's not going to walk again, he's going to eventually figure that out. But until we know for sure that he's not going to walk, we're just going to keep hope. We want him to be in a positive mindset. So my entire time, I knew I was in bad shape, but I just always thought I was going to walk because I didn't know, like, they shielded any negativity from me. Like if my friends, like, were coming to the hospital, they would like cry outside the room. When you come in the room, like, everyone's got to be super positive, happy. And that did wonders for me because I just felt like nothing but positive vibes when I was in the hospital. And mentally, I tell people all the time, like, this injury is like half mental. Like, if you really, like, it's so easy to give up if you just think I'm not going to walk again. You're just going to lay in bed all day. But for me, it was just like, let's get after it every day.
What stands out about that first year of recovery? Because 11 months until you, returned back to Penn State. What stands out the most about, especially the first couple months before you started walking again?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that stood out was like the first time I had movement because, like I said, I couldn't for like the first month, I couldn't move anything from the neck down. I was just, literally just laying there in bed. And I felt like every second of the day, I was trying to move fingers, trying to move toes, and nothing would happen. And then like a month into my injury, my doctors, my parents, like my friends had all went home for the night. I was in the room. It was like 11 o'clock at night. And I was with my nurse, and she like looked at the end of the bed. She's like, Adam, like your toe is moving. I'm like, oh, like really? And she's like, do it again. And I was able to do it. She called my dad back to the hospital. He came. He's like, move your toe. And I was able to move it. He like called Coach Paterno. It was like midnight. Coach is like 85 at the time. So he probably been asleep for like 4 or 5 hours. Like he called Coach, but he called like everybody he knew to tell him I was walking it or moving again. So that was like the best night, because that was like the first like inkling that we thought it could really happen, And from that point forward, the recovery just really started moving. We would do 3 sessions a day. So like 5 hours of therapy a day. Like we do 2 hours in the morning, 2 hours in the afternoon. Then we do like an hour session in the evening hours before dinner. And it was just an everyday thing. And I tell people it was like a baby relearning how to walk again. And then, eventually was able to walk out of there.
So you've already touched on it a little bit, but who helped you the most through that process, and kind of what was the football team's role as well?
Oh, man, I say all the time, like, I just feel so – people are like, man, do you think if you went to another school, maybe you wouldn't have gotten hurt or whatever? And my accident was a freak accident. Like, I could have just as easily been injured in a car accident. But I got hurt. I tell people I got hurt at the best place on earth. Like, seriously, like, when I got hurt, my coaches, Coach Paterno, they would fly down to Philly every Thursday, him, some of the coaches, and they would bring like 3 or 4 players with them every week to come hang out in the hospital. And it was just like, man, they never forgot about me from that instance throughout the entire season. And just so thankful, man, because they were like my inspiration to get better. Like every week I wanted to show them that I was doing something new. Like one week they came, I wanted to show them I was able to stand up. Another week I wanted to show them I was able to like move my hands. So it was like performing for them. It was the best thing, man. And I still don't know if my recovery would have been what it was without that support from not only Penn State, the team, but just the community, man. Like I was so shocked and amazed. Like I would get like bins of letters every day to the hospital saying like, hey, just thinking about you, we're praying for you. Like just random people would come to the hospital like, hey, I went to Penn State, just want to come visit you and let you know we're thinking about you. And it was like we had that many people pulling for you. You can't help but to like get inspired and want to get better for them.
So how did the idea come about for you to lead the team out, and what was that atmosphere and experience like?
It was one of those visits when Coach Paterno was at the hospital, and him and Tom Bradley, like I said, Tom Bradley was my position coach. And he was like, I couldn't even walk. I remember laying in the bed. He was like, Adam, man, you're going to lead us out the tunnel next year. And I'm like, look at him, like, you're crazy, man. Like, I'm not even walking right now. He's like, no, when you come back, you're going to lead the team out the tunnel. And they left. I was like, man, like, that would be pretty cool, like, if I was able to do it. And it, like, gave me something to work towards. So, like, every day in therapy, my therapists are like, if you want to walk out that tunnel, you gotta like, give it your all. And we did it. Like I said, we worked hard every single day. And then I got out of McGee in April or May, and I went right up to Penn State. They basically transferred my therapy to our team trainers or doctors up at Penn State, and we worked out like I was getting ready for the game. And I remember like the day getting there, and I just was so nervous because I was still like walking with crutches, still learning how to walk independently. And I'm like, man, this game is like tomorrow, and I still can barely, balance. But I remember coming on the blue bus, like going to the stadium, and they had just expanded the stadium, and we were playing University of Miami, who was like, in hindsight, like one of the greatest college football teams ever. And as I was walking to the tunnel, I wasn't sure what I was going to do. I was like, please don't like trip and fall on your face coming out this tunnel, because like my teammates, my friends will never let me live it down. So I remember walking out to the tunnel, and as I was walking, I just heard like the crowd like get loud, like the loudest I had ever heard it. Then when they announced my name, I start walking out, and like the crowd just like starts roaring. I get so like excited. I start trying to like run, skip, and something went through me. I tell you, I never felt that feeling ever in life, ever playing football. I got to be careful because I'm married and I have 2 kids. They're the best. But that feeling I got having like that crowd behind me pushed me to do something that I don't think I haven't ran again since that day. So it was like the most amazing experience of my life.
Are your kids boys?
I got a son, he's 6, and I have a daughter that's 3.
Do you think you'll let him play football when he's older?
Yeah, I get that question a lot, and I would. I truly consider my accident like a freak accident. Like, it was like lightning striking. And I tell people, I took one for the team, so if he were to get hurt, it'd be like lightning striking twice. But he's got an issue where it's like my wife, my mom, my mother-in-law are like over their dead bodies. Will he ever step foot on the football field? So he's 6, man. We got some time, but I would fully support. Like, I wouldn't ever like push him out there to play, but if he's like, Daddy, like, I want to play, I would like be his biggest supporter, because football teaches you so much about life and about how to get through adversity. So I think it's a great sport. I watch it all the time. I try to get him to watch it. And I don't want to say too much. My wife may see this, but I do hope, he steps on the field one day. That'd be cool.
Well, I do remember when I started playing football, I remember being taught to tackle like with my head down, and now they teach it different. Like, I feel like you don't see injuries like that anymore because they take such precaution and they teach so much about how to tackle so that, you don't tackle with your crown down, and you know what I mean?
No, absolutely. Like, you look at football 10 years ago or even 20 years ago when I was playing, you saw a lot of those types of hits, but now the hits that people make back then, those are penalties now. And, as you said, thankfully kids are taught at a young age to see what you hit, like, keep your head up. And as it's constantly drilled as kids are playing, it becomes second nature for them when they get to the college level, when they get to the NFL level. And thankfully, knock on wood, you don't see these injuries too much because players are hitting the right way, and that's the most important thing.
A couple years back, I'm a Steelers fan, so I remember this very well. A couple years back, Ryan Shazier had an injury that was kind of similar to yours. Did you have any contact with him or throughout his recovery process?
No, it's interesting. Ryan and I never spoke like man to man, but Tom Bradley, like I said, who was my coach at Penn State, he was coaching with the Steelers when Ryan had his injury. So I talked to Scrap, Tom Bradley. We talked a lot, and he just, said we was very similar, like our injuries, our recoveries. And, I've watched Ryan from afar, and just, it does my heart well. Anyone, not only Ryan, but anyone who sustains an injury while playing football, I just root for them, root for them the most, because I just want to see them get better, because I know that they got injured playing a game that they love, and, their life has changed. But look like he's back and doing great things in the community again. So it's awesome.
So going back real quick to you leading the team out, obviously you didn't just walk, you started running, you skipped even a little bit. What was your parents and teammates' reaction when you came back to them? Were they like, oh my God, where'd that come from?
Yeah, because as I said, my mom is always like a worrier. So I remember the night before, she's like, just take your time walking out the tunnel, make sure you pick up your feet and don't trip. And she was the first one I thought about when I first started to run, because they were sitting pretty close to the field. So I remember trying to look over and see if I can find them. But then, like I said, my mind just kind of went blank, and I just was like, screw it. I'm just going to try to do whatever I can. The run may be ugly, but it's going to be the best that I can do. And it was just a really cool experience, man. And then, like I said, Coach Franklin called me probably a year and a half ago, right before the pandemic. He's like, hey, man, you want to we should relive that moment at some point. And I was like, yeah, I'm down to do it whenever, man. And Coach has been, I tell people all the time, man, I was on the board of trustees at Penn State when Penn State hired him, and I met him his first day there, and he's the type of person, man, he makes you feel like you played for him. He makes you feel like you've known him your entire life, and he's been a great guy to me ever since he's gotten to Penn State.
So 2000 was before the social media age. How do you think your story would be different if you were a player now?
What difference would there be, with my story?
Yeah, do you think?
Yeah, I often wonder that, because, like I said, it was very part of the Penn State community. When I got injured, the Penn State community really came together. But there was another player that got injured. His name is Eric LeGrand at Rutgers, and he got injured during the social media age, and there was so much attention on it. It was great. I love to see the attention that he got and the opportunity. He won an ESPY because, it got national attention because it was all over social media and everything. So I think, there would have been a little bit more notoriety about the injury outside of the Penn State community. But I tell people all the time, man, I'm good being just a Penn State guy. All the other stuff is all good, but this Penn State for me is home. Like these are the peeps. So as long as I'm with them, I'm good.
You mentioned it briefly a minute ago, coming back to Penn State 2 weeks ago. What was it like being an honorary captain for the Whiteout with kind of the first massive night game that we've had since COVID? And you joined College Game Day in the morning, and it was a big deal that you were there. How did that feel, and what did that mean to you? What was that experience like?
When I was thinking about I talked to Coach Franklin like the week before, and we were talking about that. Like, man, this is going to be like kind of like the first big experience at Penn State. Post. Well, so still in the pandemic, but like now that everyone's back, and for me, I'm just thankful, man. Like, it's been 20 years, 21 years since my injury, and for people to even still like care about it is like mind blowing to me, and it just makes me always realize how special of a place Penn State is. Because I tell guys, like I even tell like recruits that are coming in, I'm like, I only played in 5 games, man. Like I didn't score any touchdowns, I didn't make any big plays, but the love and support I get from the Penn State community, they treat me like I won a Heisman Trophy or something, and it's I can't put into words how appreciative I am for that support these 20 years later. So to be able to come out of that tunnel, and the Whiteout, we've all been a part of them, but it never gets old, man. You walk in that stadium, you see all that white, and you hear that noise. It's just a special experience, and I'm just so thankful to have had an opportunity to be a small part of it. But the most important thing was for them they won, because I was last time I was I was an honorary captain for the Rutgers game. We beat them, but before that it was the Temple game, and we took an L against Temple. So I didn't want to be the jinx, man. So I'm just happy the boys won.
I'm from New Jersey, like you. You're a member of the New Jersey General Assembly. How'd you get into politics?
Yeah, I never had any desire to be in like politics, because it always felt like it was just full of people that lied all the time, and you just see people you can't trust. But when I moved to where I live at now, and I'm still in South Jersey, I became friendly with a guy. His name is Steve Sweeney, and Steve is the Senate president here in New Jersey. And he just started talking to me about public service and how you can really help people. And going through my injury, I realized I needed people to get through it. Like I was helped in so many different ways. So I looked at it as a way to help give back to people in the community that needed assistance. So I got involved at the county level, almost like 10 years ago. And I tell people I was just like in the right place at the right time, when there was like vacancies, and I kind of just moved up because people were either retiring or they needed someone to fill a role. So I joined the legislature 6 years ago, and it's been a cool experience. I tell people all the time, like I hate like the Republican Democrat stuff where people like fighting all the time. I say, when I was playing football, I didn't know if my teammates were Republicans or Democrats. I just knew we were all trying to win the same game. And I try to tell that to other members in the legislature, like, throw all that crap out the door. Let's just try to work with one another like we're a team. And that's how I go about it. And it's been a pretty cool experience. It can get a little crazy at times, but I feel like I'm helping in my own little way, which, when I look myself in the mirror at the end of the night, I try to do the right thing, and that's what it's all about.
So what does your day-to-day kind of look like as a member of the General Assembly, but also with other things that you're up to right now?
Yeah, Jersey's a little bit unique compared to other states, where in Jersey we call it a citizens legislature. So it's really, like they call it part-time, but it's really pretty time-consuming. But full-time, I work for Bristol Myers Squibb as a lawyer. And so, that's my full-time job. So I'm doing that, during most days, and I travel a good amount for work. But then, either at night, I'm at usually political events, and on the weekend at political events. And, right now we're in campaign season. So out knocking on doors, trying to get some votes out for the election coming up in November. And then, like I said, my kids, man, that's that, as you have family, you really realize how important and valuable it is to be there, for your family and to be present. So the one rule that I have is that, every Saturday for 3-4 hours, leave me alone so I can watch Penn State, and we're good to go. But outside of that, I'm always somewhere trying to do something.
Do you think that Central Jersey exists?
Nope. There's no such thing as Central Jersey. There's South Jersey and North Jersey. But Yeah, that's been a debate, and the governor here in New Jersey has declared that there is essential jersey.
What?
But I wholeheartedly disagree with him on that point.
He's got to say that, right? I mean,
Also, do you say pork roll since you're from South Jersey?
Pork rolls?
Pork roll, or do you say Taylor ham?
I say ham. But
Do you say ham, or do you
I
say
get
Taylor
accused.
ham?
I eat like a first grader, so I don't eat like I'll eat like the plainest stuff you'll ever find. Like, give me a burger with just cheese on it. Like, give me like I don't like any grown up foods. Like, I'll eat with my kids. I eat chicken nuggets all day. Like,
But if you were gonna pick one, you would call it Taylor ham, not pork roll.
I'll call it Taylor ham. Yeah.
Awesome, beautiful, smart man.
All right. We're going to wrap it up here in a little bit, but last question for me, unless you guys have something else. Everyone faces adversity different. While not all people are faced with the challenge that you were faced with, everyone deals with something. So what advice would you give to someone who's going through adversity right now?
You know, the biggest thing that I tell people, you know, when you're going through adversity is that adversity forces you to like look within, and it pulls out strength that you didn't even know you had within. So when you're going through any type of adversity, like just realize it's testing you, but you can get through this stuff. And I know it's easy for all of us to say when we're not going through that adversity. But when you go through it, and another thing I'll say is rely on people, because before I got injured, I always thought I can get through life on my own. I don't need people. Like, you know, of course I had friends in my family, but when I was going through my adversity, I truly realized how helpful people around you can be in helping you get through your greatest of adversity. So the most important thing I would say is just lean on people, man. Rely on people. We're all here to help one another. And, you know, if you got good people around you, you can get through almost anything. And I say, I feel like I'm a testament to it, because without the support of, you know, my family, the Penn State community, just so many people pulling for me, I know I wouldn't be walking today. I wouldn't be where I'm at today without the support of so many.
so I do have one final question. Couldn't let you go without asking you about this year's team, Penn State team. Obviously 4-0, number 4 right now. What do you think? What do you think the potential for these guys are? Where do you think they can end up?
Man, I'm so excited to see this team and all they've accomplished already this season. I mean, just getting to spend some time with those guys, you know, this year, and then, you know, coach every once in a while, you know, over the summer and last year he'll have me speak to the guys. You know, we did it virtually last year, and those guys, man, I've been, you know, thankfully I've had the opportunity to, you know, be close to a lot of the teams since I've been at Penn State. And I'll tell you, this is one of the closest knit teams I've ever seen. And I think, you know, if they stick together, and they've got such great leadership throughout the team, they can accomplish anything. And, you know, I'm a little bit biased, but I don't see any L's on the schedule. They just got to, you know, if they focus, they protect the ball. And Sean has done a great job of taking care of the ball. The defense is playing lights out. I'm seeing playoffs, man. I'm seeing playoffs, and we'll see what happens from there.
Love it.
How much – I was watching the video on your on the Foundation website today. How much do you hate Ohio State? That video made me laugh.
No, like I have like a love-hate relationship with Ohio State, man, because, you know, that's why I got hurt and all that. But
then they scored right after you got hurt.
They threw a TD after I got hurt.
That might be the
That's ridiculous.
That might be the douchiest thing of all time, right? Who was the coach at the time?
John Cooper. Cooper was the coach, man, and you know they threw a touchdown. They were beating us like 45-6 already. But I tell people, to their credit, man, like when I got hurt, like he came to the hospital right after. Like a lot of their players, like I still talk to a lot of the nurses that took care of me out there. They're like huge Buckeye fans. My roommate, you know, Tony Johnson, lives at his dad. Larry Johnson's the coach out there. And I got a lot of love for the people of Ohio. And my surgeon was an Ohio State grad, so without that dude, I would have been in big trouble. So I support them. I root for those guys. I root for the people out there. But of course, you know, when it comes to Halloween night or the night before Halloween this year, I'm always with the blue and white all day.
Adam, growing up in State College, you know, I was born in 2000. I was born in January of 2000. So I didn't live in State College until 2003 or something. So I wasn't even here. But immediately it was like a story I knew. Your story was a story that I knew, and it was something that just like they taught it in school. We learned that story in school because it was like such a story of perseverance and overcoming the odds and, you know, taking what you're dealt and making the best out of it. And freshman year of high school, I played football and I fractured a vertebrae and was done with football. And it was nowhere near as bad as yours, but it was like my dad afterwards was just like, hey, remember, dude, like, if Taliaferro can do it, you can do it. Like, you can do anything, like, whatever's placed in on your plate, like, just take it as is. So I want to say I appreciate you for that, for being indirectly being such a big part of my life growing up. And I can't thank you enough for coming on and chatting with us. And we hope that you get reelected into the Jersey legislator.
No, man, I can't thank you guys enough. It's like my honor to be with you all. And like I said, when I tell Coach Franklin this all the time, I'm like, man, like, he'll have me come speak to the team. I'm like, I got injured before like these dudes were even born. Like, you were born in 2000.
And I'm a senior.
You're a senior, man. So like, it means the world to me, like to hear that story and for people to even remember my story. It's a special place, man. I tell people Penn State is like it's a special place, man. And if you ought to have me on, you could. There's many awesome Penn Staters I'm sure you guys could be talking to right now, but if you ought to think of me as, I appreciate it. I really do.
Well, next time you're in State College, let us know. Maybe we can go out and grab a beer or something, or we can have you on sometime in the studio would be cool. Officially friend of the show, Adam Taliaferro. Thank you. Alrighty. Awesome conversation with Adam Taliaferro. Thanks for sticking with us after the break, if anyone did. Unless I'm just talking to the YouTube person that looks for copyright infringement. We got football chat here with associate producer Will Pegler and contributor Connor Kraus. Guys, how are you?
Doing well, man. How about yourself?
Good.
How's it going, Sam?
It's going good, dude.
Good.
I was at the Steeler game on Sunday.
Oh, brutal.
Yeah, it was fun. I mean, I had no voice, but there wasn't much to cheer about.
No.
But I'm not worried. I'm not worried moving forward.
There's a lot of injuries.
A lot of injuries. The offensive line needs a little help, but I think that the Steelers can turn around. I still have them in the playoffs plus 8.5 wins.
AFC North is tough, though.
They won't win the.
No.
I mean, I doubt they win the North, but I have them plus 8.5 wins. We'll see how that goes. Penn State running the state for football. They're keeping us proud. Them and State High football. Shout out Matt Lintel. Let's get right into it. Pegs, Villanova.
For sure. That was kind of weird. I thought we talked about it last week. I thought Penn State was going to win by like 70 points. I think I predicted 100-0, which I knew wasn't actually going to happen. But still, I was pretty confident. But yeah, I mean,
weirder things have happened.
Like Sean Clifford threw for 400 yards, so that was great. But and the first team defense played well. But I don't know. It felt like the offense didn't really get into a rhythm. Like in a lot of ways, they had like a ton of explosive plays from the wide receivers, but just kind of a strange game. Even Sean said it. Like he felt like they should have like broken records, and they just didn't. I don't know. I think they kind of played down a little bit.
Yeah, aside from 3 or 4 really big plays, it was a very quiet 400 yards.
Mm-hmm.
But I was surprised how the offensive line didn't play as well because they allowed 0 sacks against Auburn. Doing that against an SEC team is pretty impressive. But allowing 3 against Villanova is a little lackluster, so they're gonna have to pick that up this weekend.
Yeah, I think the whole thing like strange is just like I don't know. I've already said that, but it was just weird. Like even after the game, James Franklin was kind of like, you know, we felt like we didn't. He even said like we didn't have a great week of practice. Like it was kind of like a come down a little bit after the whiteout, and they kind of took it for granted. I mean, I don't think there was ever a time where like people were worried that Penn State was going to lose the game. I think it was in control the whole time. But yeah, just kind of a boring like noon kick win, you know?
Yeah, it was never in doubt. They took care of business, but I kind of think after the injury in the third quarter, the wing was kind of taken out of the sails of the stadium. Wasn't really too exciting after that. They kind of just ran through it. Then subbed the backups in after that led up a few fourth quarter touchdowns. But yeah, it was a weird game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this is not in any way a slight to Sean Clifford because if you listen to the show and you read our Overreaction Tuesday post or my game predictions, you know that I'm big Sean Clifford fan and I support him and I think that he's actually a lot better than he seems than people give him credit for. But this game was the first one that I got to watch, not covering, of the season. And gotta say, I felt like Sean Clifford looked like a high school quarterback in the way that he got his 400 yards. I think Sean Clifford played really well. I think what was his completions?
Something high.
Yeah.
I don't have it right in front of me, but
will you check that real quick?
Yeah, Connor's got it.
Yeah, he was 19 for 26, 73%. So
yeah,
pretty impressive.
Productive.
In
efficient.
high school, towards the end of high school, when I would be watching the games, it would be like Tommy Freiberg would dump it off to Keaton Ellis, and Keaton would catch it like a screen pass and go 88 yards for a touchdown. That's what I mean when I say it was like a high school.
Right. There was a few,
So Sean Clifford didn't look like a high school quarterback, but the way that he got his yards was kind of, in my opinion, like a high school, like the defense couldn't tackle they would throw it to 10 yards to Dre, and he would catch it and then just wouldn't do anything.
Yeah,
like,
no, I could.
He
yeah.
would make one person miss and then just dust it.
Yeah, on Lambert Smith's touchdown, like you just said, that was ridiculous. Like it looked like he was like juking out like a ton of like punters. You know what I mean? Like he cut, he made like one cut and just kind of like. Well, that was like the whole point. Like they probably should have broken records. I mean, like Villanova. I mean, no disrespect to Villanova, but the fact of the matter is Penn State just has better athletes. So yeah they probably should have put up 70 points or 60 points. I mean, a win's a win.
You know what I mean though? Like when I say
I
that,
do.
It was like the 401 yards was kind of.
Well, how many came after the catch is what you're saying.
Yeah.
It was like at least 275 came after the catch.
I think it was nearly like 300 yards.
All Parker
on
Washington
explosive
came after
plays
the
by
catch.
Parker.
Which is
Jahan had the first play of the game.
Should in
Which
no
was a good
way
ball. That was
take
a good
away
ball,
from the
but-
offense.
No.
Shouldn't know, and that's credit to the receivers, but
Right.
Which is fine that happened. That's just I feel like I remember looking up at the thing and I said to my roommate, I was like, we stand there and we're like, we don't do the pom poms or anything. We're
Locked
lame.
in.
And yes, it's pom poms, not shakers.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
No, it is shakers.
No, it's pom poms.
You're from State College. What are you talking? They're shakers.
Yeah, it's pom poms.
Come on. What are you talking about?
What? I call them pom poms.
I can't believe you do. That's wrong.
Shakers to me are like.
No, I know it doesn't make sense, but that's just what they're called.
Those sticks that have the hands and they you shake them and they go.
Well, those are like
clappers.
Clappers.
Thunder
Shit.
sticks,
Okay.
whatever.
Anyways.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Debate for
that's
another
crazy.
day.
Yeah, they're not pom poms.
We were standing there and I just looked at him. I was like, "Shit, pricey! Look, 400 yards for Clifford," and we were just like, "How
Didn't
that
feel-
happen?"
yeah.
It didn't feel like it. But anyways,
I know what you mean.
Moving past that, let's talk about the run game. Was a little underwhelming compared to the 450 yards or whatever the pass game had.
Yeah, Noah Kane only had one carry because James said he was kind of dinged up. So I think that you kind of take that for a grain of salt too. But no, that was weird. I keep saying that, but they never really got it going. The offensive line struggled, and the run game, besides a couple strong carries from John Lovett, really didn't do anything for the offense at all. It's pretty much non-existent, which I thought was not. It wasn't what you want to see. It's not good, but also, like I said, I think you need to take into account that Noah Kane didn't play at all.
Did Cliff get hit a lot?
He was-
Inside the pocket? Did his pocket collapse on him or?
No, pass protection was pretty good
Yeah.
for the most part.
But yeah, never mind.
I don't know. I think the running game's not going to open up until teams start to respect Clifford a little more, because I think right now they're loading the box pretty heavy. Because if you look at Penn State scouting report, they have 5 blue chip running backs. You don't really want to give them space.
Mm-hmm.
So, based on last season, they're like, why not let Sean Clifford throw? I mean, he's been efficient so far. So until they kind of lay off of that, I think the running game's kind of going to be pretty stagnant.
Even still, I think Kevon Lee. I don't think he really had much of anything either. They never really settled in. I did think it was reassuring to see John Lovett play well, though. He even played well in the whiteout too. After he didn't play those first 2 weeks. But yeah, that too. I think people are kind of starting to panic about that. It feels like, which I don't think is necessary yet. I think Noah Kane, once he hits his groove, he's fantastic. So I think we could see that, especially once Big Ten play kicks off this weekend against Indiana and against Iowa. I think we could see him become much more of an important factor.
Yeah, the thing about it too is they played 2 ranked teams, and it hasn't let them down so far.
Exactly.
It's been reliable when they need it.
Right.
It just hasn't been consistent.
They haven't had one dominant performance yet. Yeah.
real quick, we'll talk about the defense. I don't feel like we have to that much. First team defense played very good, held them to 100 yards, 3 points, and then the garbage time minutes came in. It kind of made once the backups came in, but not a slight to the backups. But when you're playing against first strings, you're bound to get some points coming on, even if it is Villanova. So defense played okay. Any thoughts on that, real quick?
Yeah, it was. 52 yards in the first half for Villanova. I think they finished with something like 100 entering the fourth. First team defense, they did what you're supposed to do against an FCS team. They shut him down. Arnold Ebiketie still looks awesome. He got to the quarterback a ton. I think Ellis Brooks led the team with tackles. So yeah, the guys who have been playing well continue to play well. As you said, the reserves I don't think did awesome, but I don't think that means they don't. I don't think that means depth is necessarily an issue yet, because a lot of guys that still rotated in aren't considered reserves yet either. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's still I still think depth is really strong.
We talked about in our overreactions post just should we be worried about the depth?
Mm-hmm.
And I said I don't think we should necessarily be worried about it. It's definitely something to keep an eye on. The fact that they kind of collapsed in the fourth quarter with obviously 2 touchdowns and quite a few yards, kind of just walk down the field
quickly.
Yeah, I think if anything, it was good to see the backups make mistakes like that. Kalen King got burnt for a long touchdown.
Yeah.
And he was a freshman All-American.
Right.
That's not going to happen again.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that might be a positive more than a negative.
Well, it definitely, and we heard about it in James's post game where he basically was like, "Oh yeah, Sunday is going to be not a victory Sunday."
Mm-hmm.
Not necessarily.
It was,
that,
but yeah.
But there will be more learning than a normal week, which was good. Good for the younger guys. Final thoughts? Anything, or want to move on to the Hoosiers?
I think we hit it all. And actually, too, I think it was north of 105,000 people. Awesome showing for a noon kick, especially against Nova. I think people are still really excited to be back, so that was fun to see. Pretty full stadium.
Yeah, great to see the student section full, too. That usually doesn't happen for a noon kick against an FCS team.
An FCS team, yeah.
I saw you on the Jumbotron a couple times.
Yeah, I sit front row, so it's
fun. I know. I now.
You know my spot.
Yeah, I know your spot now.
SF,
cool.
row 1.
All right, moving forward, back-to-back football games against basketball teams. We got Indiana Hoosiers coming in. Kind of a redemption game. Penn State says that it's allegedly not a revenge game, but let's chat about that a little bit. Pegs?
Yeah, so James Franklin talked about it on Tuesday, so did PJ Mustafer because he got asked about it. They pretty much were just saying how, no, revenge game isn't in, our vernacular or whatever. It's not something we're going to focus on. We're going to worry about this year's Indiana squad, which is, what they're supposed to say. But I still think, I don't know, I'd be surprised if, they're not going to come into this, more pissed off than usual, ready to,
as far as we're concerned, that didn't even happen. Last year it didn't even happen.
Right.
As far as we're concerned, probably them too. Didn't even happen.
Oh, you mean from the team's perspective? Yeah.
COVID year.
Yeah.
Didn't even happen.
Well, that too. Yeah.
I consider it didn't even happen. But, yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, I think if the loss wasn't the first game and as dramatic as it was, it was a bad call in my opinion.
He didn't.
Penix was short.
He wasn't in
if that game was called correctly, I don't think it would have been a big deal. But the way that Penn State lost that game,
week one
set the tone for the 5-game losing streak. I think it's definitely a revenge game.
Right.
Charlie,
I totally agree.
It's a revenge game for Charlie on Twitter, right? Charlie, show the camera the tweets. Every day he's been tweeting the picture.
Right?
It's a revenge game.
So I saw something that was that picture should be posted up in Lash. The picture
I like
of Penix.
That. Yeah.
But
I agree.
He's been tweeting this every day. Yeah, show the camera.
Absolutely a revenge game.
The ball is out of bounds before
that was a bullshit
It bounces
call.
too.
You can't see it in the picture. His knees down.
Well, the thing is, the ball was out of bounds.
So if anything, it's a touchback. It's not a touchdown. We won the game. We would have gone undefeated and won the national championship.
I don't know. National championship didn't.
No, I think the big takeaway is everybody last year was fake. It shouldn't count. Sam already said that.
Yep. All right. Moving forward, we have. They have 22 returning starters, offense, defense, special teams. That's big. Similar vibe, in my opinion, to week 1 against Wisconsin. Had a lot of veteran presence, and yeah.
Yeah, Indiana's not a bad team. They're 2-2, but their losses are Iowa and Cincinnati, who are right now 2 top 10 teams.
Are they ranked?
Indiana?
Yeah.
No, and they're not receiving votes either.
Oh, really?
Not this past week. They didn't. No.
Did they get whooped by those two teams?
Cincinnati, they kept it close for 3 quarters, then they kind of pulled away at the end. Iowa was not close at all. They ran all over them. Penix had 3 picks.
Yeah.
That was a tough game.
But then Penix balled out last week. I know that against who'd they play?
Western Kentucky.
Thank you. Yeah. And, I was thinking Ball State for some reason.
Yeah, it's a fake team.
But yeah, I think Penix is like one of the returning starters that Penn State's gonna have to key on. I mean, obviously he's been inconsistent. He's had a ton of injuries, but he is a veteran. He's played a lot of Big Ten football, so I think that'll be an interesting storyline to watch. I do still think though the defensive line is gonna be able to get to him a lot. Veteran or not, Arnold Ebiketie, Nick Tarberton, a lot of those defensive linemen and linebackers, they're fast and they're athletic, and I think they're gonna be able to put a lot of pressure on them.
Cool. I think the other thing too is the secondary for Penn State this year is so much better than last year.
That too.
Penix went 7 for 7 on that last drive and
yeah.
diced Penn State apart.
Right.
He's not going to be able to do that this year.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Especially, I mean, that was Joey Porter Jr.'s first game.
And
Yeah.
against Indiana. Yeah, I mean, he didn't play amazing.
That was a tough last final drive for him.
Yeah.
In the
but
fourth quarter.
Joey Porter, Keaton Ellis, Tariq Castro Fields, and then obviously Jaquan Brisker, Jair Brown, guys like that. Like, they're not going to let that happen again. I'm with you.
We'll get to score predictions in a little bit, but yeah, it will be different. It won't. They embarrassed us.
There have been a lot more pass breakups from the secondary this year than I can remember. Like every game, there have been at least 3 or 4 big breakups on third down that I can't really remember.
I know. It felt like Penn State can never get that. Not even just in 2020, but in 2019 too.
In
I
general,
think it kind of stood out.
Yeah. They typically play pretty soft. And I feel like
right.
they're kind of playing uptight
like
man
jamming
this year.
now.
Yeah,
that is interesting.
Moving forward, we have every week we have a player listed. We have kind of our game changer here, Micah McFadden, who has been around in my brain forever. He's been around for a long time. He definitely took his. He's probably been there for 5 years. I
think he's a senior now. Let me confirm that.
I think he's a 5th year.
I think he's kind of like the Michael Mahdi of Penn State.
Yeah, he's on his COVID year, I think, right now. He's very good. He's the middle linebacker that you think of when you think of middle linebackers.
Yeah, he's that typical Sean Lee, Mike Hall.
Yep.
Big stout guy in the middle. 19 tackles so far, 2 sacks, a forced fumble. So
I think he also started as a freshman.
Yeah,
so
he was an instant impact.
What's he, 46, 47?
Yep,
47.
Yeah, he's been there for a long time. So I think that'll be the number one guy Penn State keys on. That will be interesting. I mean, talking about the run game and stuff. We'll see if he can make some big plays and kind of disrupt that.
I posted pictures of him on my Instagram, and he reposted them. So
hey, there you go.
Yeah, shout out. Last time they played Indiana home. Cool. Before we get to score predictions, any final thoughts here for you guys?
I don't think so. I mean, 22 returning starters. That'll be interesting. It's a revenge game. Penn State says it isn't, but it is. I think those are the big things.
Yeah, I think the stripe out helps them not overlook to Iowa, because typically that game on the schedule next week, Penn State would definitely look towards a top 5 matchup. But I think there's probably going to be over 107,000 this week. So
yeah, the fact that it's a night game I think helps too, because it makes it seem, not that this game isn't important.
It's on national TV.
Yeah,
they'll be
it
locked
makes
in.
It seem more important. I think that the players understand that this is an important game, and I feel like they haven't necessarily overlooked.
And we'll talk about this. We'll talk about this more next week. But the fact that Iowa's a 4 p.m. kick, 3 p.m. their time, that's helpful. Not having to play at Kinnick at night.
It would be better if it was a noon game, but
yeah, but still,
you only get so much.
Yeah, as long as it's not a night game. I mean, that's always scary.
Peg's score.
Jeez, I'm gonna go 38. Actually, no, they scored 38 last week. Never mind. I'm gonna go 41-14 Penn State. Okay. I don't think this is going to be that close.
Okay.
I was going to say 31-13.
Okay.
They'll cover. 12 points. 12 points is a little low. It's 12.
12 right now, yeah.
I'm not going to bet. I bet Penn State minus 30.5 last week. They did not cover. I don't normally bet on my teams. I bet that as my lock of the week and put a little more money on it than I did the rest of the games. And
dude, I know we all thought Villanova was a joke, and
it was a little annoying. My score prediction was 72-3. I don't know if we did we do football last week?
Yep.
Yeah, 72-3, State by 69. The week before I did pretty good. I don't know about this week. I'm gonna say Penn State 45, Indiana 22. We'll be back next week with more football coverage. Thank you to Will and Connor Krause hopping on. Have fun at the game.
Yeah, we'll do.
Pace yourself.
Yeah.
Mostly you. I know. I know me and Will.
Yeah, it's a long day.
Yeah.
We'll be good. All right. Good stuff.
Yep. Cheers.
That was another episode of Podward State. We talked to Adam Taliaferro. Had a good conversation with him. Then Sam, Connor, and Will talked football. We did some headlines.
Yeah.
Good episode.
Full episode. I'm excited for you guys to hear. Well, I guess you already heard it. If you're at this point, you already heard the conversation. But I hope you enjoyed it. Friend of the show, Adam Taliaferro. If you haven't listened to last week's episode with friend of the show, Pat Chambers, check it out. It's probably right underneath this on YouTube. Yeah, man, life is good.
Mm-hmm. Happy October.
Happy October. It's October if you're listening to this.
Thanksgiving.
Happy birthday, Colleen. Colleen does not listen to this. This is a test. This is a test. Colleen Nurston, if you are my friend, if you are any of our friends, you will text me
and say
something.
The word.
Because we're all saying happy birthday to you.
Say the word that you're about to say. Magic word, random word.
Toast.
Colleen, text Grace and say toast. Happy birthday, Colleen Nurston.
I'm already sad.
21. And donate some blood.
Yep.
Donate some blood. Get your flu shot. Even though it's not Blood Cancer Awareness Month anymore, still donate blood. Still important. You could save a life. Get a flu shot. You could save a life.
Happy day after International Podcast Day.
Yeah. Shout out to the crew.
I woke up this morning and I was like, I wonder when National or Podcast Day is, and it's tomorrow. I just thought of that.
That's wild.
Something
no way.
was just like.
That's massive. We're about to get out of here before 7:40, which is unheard of. I don't know actually if it is, but usually we talk for longer than that. But appreciate you guys sticking around, hanging out with us. Enjoy your weekend. Be safe. Make good choices. Go State.
I'm Grace Cunningham.
I'm Sam Brungo. Be safe, guys. Have a good
Ryan
weekend.
Smith wants me to say toodles, so toodles.
Chase McSorley, Chase McSorley, they call me Chase McSorley. I went out to the bar and I woke up in a sorority. Michigan defense softer than that cheesecake. Beaver Stadium, get loud. Home team 14 straight. And DeAndre going long. Back shoulder to Juwan. It's that Big Ten title season. Try to take me out too bad. We still got Tommy Stevens. Throw it on a dime like I ain't even trying. Just a kid from Briarwoods. I'm wearing number 9. Met Coach Franklin down at Vandy. Flipped to Happy Valley. Now I'm coming back and got the natty on my mind. They can't touch my deep ball. Every game I'm scoring. I'm your favorite quarterback. They call me Chase McSorley. Rep that blue and white. You know I do it for the glory. Baker won the Heisman. Next up, Chase McSorley. Chase McSorley. They call me Chase McSorley. I make these other quarterbacks look boring. I'm snoring. I came in as a starter and went 22-5. If you bring that blitz, I scramble out and let the fucker fly. Long ball, I got no fear. Going into my 5th year, and I look back at 2014, thinking, how the hell did we get here? Saquon to the big league. Next up, Miles Sanders. And the Nittany Lions moving forward, while the Buckeyes going backward. Listen to the critics, they all say I'm undersized. If you want to win a game, then put your faith in number 9. And we coming for that title, best believe I'm gonna shine. I'm about to show Joe Mo why you should not leave me behind. They can't touch my deep ball. Every game I'm scoring. I'm your favorite quarterback. They call me Chase McSorley. Rep that blue and white. You know I do it for the glory. Baker won the Heisman. Next up, Chase McSorley.